Need to get rid of that. Need to get rid of that. And I think we are live. Hi guys, welcome to episode 39. I think it is 39 of the live Q&A / talk. As ever, just here for about 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. If anyone's got any questions in regards to security dog handling, about me, about whatever, I'll be here. There'll probably be some other people in the chat boxes as well that can give their side. I've always said that I don't know everything, so it's always handy when there's some other people. There's some other people that can answer questions as well. So I hope you are having a good week. This is the first live in 2 weeks. Which is a little bit more regular than it has been. I understand that maybe over the past sort of 6 months, etc., or maybe over the last year, the lives haven't been as frequent, which is why being on TikTok, I've never been someone for TikTok, but I have actually seen the benefits of TikTok over sort of the last few weeks or over the last month or so. And hopefully if I can get a bit of a growing on TikTok, I can be live more frequent. It will be on there, but I could be live every day, every couple of days, at least once a week, etc. So if you're not on TikTok, or if you are on TikTok, then download the app or go and find me on TikTok and follow me. And then hopefully, like I say, I can do these a little bit more regularly. Someone I have found on TikTok who seems to share very similar views to the way in which I try and get information over is K9 Katie. So if you go on to TikTok, K9 Katie goes live more or less every day. And she's very similar to me in the way in which she gets information over. And I've followed quite a few of her lives in which she shares a lot of very similar information to what I do. And she gets asked very similar questions. Now, the one thing that I would say about TikTok is that it doesn't stay up. I think that's the good thing about doing it on YouTube, is that you can refer back to it later, or if you miss the live, you can rewatch it later. So if you are watching this later, then that's obviously a benefit of doing it on YouTube rather than TikTok. But like I say, the benefit with TikTok is that it's a lot easier to do. Doing lives on YouTube on your mobile phone is a lot more admin. You have to have a certain amount of subscribers to be able to do it, and subscribers on YouTube are a lot harder to come by than stuff on TikTok, etc. But yeah, if you're on TikTok, go and find me. It's just Michael Wakley-Smith. You'll be able to find me. If you don't have TikTok, then I would say, I never thought I would say this. I would say download TikTok, go and follow someone like K9 Katie, where she does offer similar information to me as well. And hopefully, once I get enough followers on TikTok, I'll be able to do something similar, not the same, but something similar. So yeah, if you are watching this and you've got any questions, put it down in the chat box. Like I say, I'll answer what I can. If not, then maybe there'll be other people that can do it as well. But I hope you are having a good week. I am at the end of my working week. It's only a short week for me this week because I'll be playing golf for the next couple of days. So it's going to be a nice little break. I haven't played golf in a while. I think it's good to get out of the rut of working them block patterns, to be able to have a couple of days off to go and do something that you enjoy, or something just to take your mind off of security dog handling, especially working 16-hour shifts that I have been doing. It's a block of your week where you're constantly working, it feels like, because obviously working 16-hour shifts, it doesn't leave you a lot of time to chill out, relax, different things like that. My working, or my pattern of the day seems to be I get home and then I'll go straight to sleep. I wake up an hour to an hour and a half before I need to leave, maybe grab a bowl of cereal, get all my stuff together, and then I'm back out the door. So I think with 12-hour shifts, it does give you the benefit of maybe being able to sit down for a couple of hours just to watch some TV or just to chill out, etc. But when you're working 16-hour shifts, you're basically going to work, coming home, having a sleep, getting up, going to work. So I think, especially if your block pattern is 16-hour shifts, just be able to give yourself a couple of days off to enjoy yourself and do something that's a little bit more relaxing. Some people might say that golf is not that relaxing. Some people say golf's boring, but some people might say that golf is not relaxing. I do find it quite therapeutic just to be out. As much as I love my dogs, just being able to get out and not have to worry about the dogs is quite nice as well. I think my video this week, I tried to video one this morning. Now, what I have said with the site that I'm on at the moment is that I don't want to make it too public because of the area that it's in, and I don't want to. I think by showing where I am, etc., it could put me under a little bit of. It could make me a target. So the site that I'm on at the moment, I don't want to announce that I'm there, etc., or bring attention to it. So in terms of videos on this site, is going to be quite limited. So I tried to do a video this morning, which again was quite similar to sort of last week's video, just talking about stuff that's happened and different things like that. But I was absolutely knackered this morning, and I'm not sure how it's come out. And I got disrupted at the end of it with someone turning up to let me go. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to look at that video and see what parts of it I can take out. I'll probably have to edit it a little bit because I think where I was so tired, I was actually chatting a lot of nonsense. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably look at what I've done this morning and then make a video with that and integrate it with tomorrow, because I think tomorrow is an important part of security dog handling as well, is being able to have a day off or whatever it is and being able to give the dogs, or what do I do with the dogs when I have a day off to do something, but also the fiance is at work. So I think maybe highlighting that you need to have sort of a backup plan or a plan of what happens when you're going out for the day and your fiance is at work or your girlfriend's at work. What do you do with the dog? So I think my video this week is going to highlight a little bit of that, but also integrate some of the stuff that I filmed this morning, stuff that is usable, where I wasn't talking absolute nonsense. Strike Thunder, hi mate, hi, how are you doing? Sorry, it was last minute that I remembered I needed to message you to say I was going live, because you are the person that has been speaking to me about asking about, are you going live, when are you going live, etc. So yeah, it was last minute, but good to see that you managed to make it in. I hope you are good. If you've got any questions or anything that you want me to talk about, then put it down in the chat box. But I'm glad that you've managed to make it in, because like I say, you was one of the main people that was messaging me asking about when I was going live and things like that. So, but my week has been decent. I'm actually enjoying the site that I'm on to a certain degree. So I think you get lots of different sites. Like I've had sites where I can have the dog out quite a lot and do some different bits. I've had sites where I have space to do stuff, but I have to be aware of sort of my surroundings and that. And then the site that I'm on at the moment has limited space. It hasn't got a lot of open space for me to do stuff. It's in quite a public area. The people or the town that I'm in is not the greatest area, etc. So I'm quite aware that I want to try and keep my profile down. So the site I'm on, I am enjoying it in terms of it's a nice clean site. It doesn't seem to be too much going on. I mean, touch wood. I mean, I've finished my week now. I think I was saying that this morning. Like, the reason that I tried to do my filming this morning when I was absolutely knackered was because I didn't want to jinx the shift. I didn't want to make a video of saying, oh, like, there's not been much going on, etc. And then before I know it, I've got 10 people walking onto site and causing chaos, etc. But I'm enjoying the site in terms of it's nice and clean. It's reasonably local. I haven't had too much hassle. I've had the odd person here and there coming on, or the odd person here doing bits and pieces, but nothing that's too drastic, nothing that's caused any alarm distress, nothing that's really caused for me to need the police, etc. But then, like I said, with sites where you get quite a lot of open area to do some training, different things like that, this site doesn't seem to have that, and it's a case of getting the dog out and patrolling like a 200-yard, 300-yard area, just up and down, letting the dog do some sniffing, different things like that. But in terms of being able to do real training other than sort of obedience, it's not the greatest site for that. But it's only a short-term contract, this one, so I won't be on there for too long, and then I'll be moving on to something else. Strike Thunder. Yeah, cheers. Had a load of questions, but my mind has gone blank. I've been doing some training with my 7-month-old female GSD coming on well. I think that's, I mean, to be honest with you, I have lots of things that I want to say on these lives, and then I'll start the live and everything disappears out of my head as well. It does seem like I do have verbal diarrhea, because I think unless you've done one of these lives, literally just talking to yourself. So all I'm doing is just looking at a video of myself, and being able to talk gets the cogs going. But yeah, so well, you've been doing lots of training. Good to hear. Have you got a trainer at the moment that you're doing that with? Have you watched? I mean, I've never said that my videos are training videos, but have you watched any of my videos in order to understand some of the stuff that you might be able to train? Things like article search, speak on command, different things like that. Obviously not bite stuff. I wouldn't use any of my training videos or anything like that to do bite stuff, because you want to do that in a controlled area with people that know what they're doing, that can see signs of stuff going wrong. But what sort of stuff are you doing? I think when you get sort of 7 months between sort of puppy and 1 year old, so with Nasdu and I assume Niptu and Bipta as well, you can't sign the dog up for a course until it's 1 year old. So that gives you a lot of time between picking the dog up at 8 weeks and it being 1 that you need to do training. Now, I think the most stuff that you'll probably want to teach the dog to do would be things like obedience. Obviously, obedience is key for any dog, not just a security dog, but things like obedience, making the dog an all-round social dog. I'm going to highlight something in my video this weekend in terms of making sure that your dog is sociable, making sure that your dog has an off switch, your dog understands situations, he understands what is work and what is sort of home life or more relaxed life. I'm going to highlight that a little bit, because I have heard people before where they've said that only they want to be able to control the dog, only them and he only wants the dog to be sociable with them and their family. He don't want them to be sociable with other people, and that brings its own issues. So I think I'm going to highlight something this weekend in my video about that, because obviously when I have a day off, I need to be able to give my dog to someone else. So I'm going to maybe talk through that a little bit, and just something that you need to keep in mind, because if you are the only person that can control that dog, well, what happens when you need to give it to someone else for X, Y, or Z reason? I think a good reason is, for example, you break your ankle. Now, you're the only one that can control the dog. You're the only one that can walk the dog. Well, what happens if you break your ankle? Who walks your dog then? Does your dog not go for walks? You need to be able to hand the dog over and give him to someone to say, right, you can take them for a walk, or can you take the dog for the day because I've got to do X, Y, or Z. So I think making your dog a really sociable dog, and then later on you teach them situations in where they need to be different to the sociable side that you've sort of shown them. So yeah, obedience. You can do early starts of sort of search work. So you could go to the park and you could get girlfriend, whoever it is, to hide behind a tree and teach the dog to find someone that they know, and do the early part of sort of searching. So, like I say, you're in a park and the missus hide behind the tree, and then you teach the dog to try and find. You get the girlfriend to make noise and wave from behind the tree, and get the dog to find, and then you make a big fuss of that sort of stuff. So you can do sort of early signs of that sort of stuff. No, just doing the basic on my own as I've done training towards gaining my NASDO. So just continuing with that. Cool. Watched all your vids. She's mint. Is mint more of a northern term? Because I don't think I've ever heard someone in the south say mint. Is mint a northern term? Watched all your videos. She's mint on her own, but loses all her focus when any other dogs are about. Or if you have my two terriers with me, just have to walk her then and keep the training on her own. Yeah, Coop's quite similar. So when I do obedience at work, and it's just me and him, very, very good. When we go, Coop, enough, wait. When we go to training and there's 3, 4, 5 other dogs, he does get a little bit distracted. But I think it's hard because when Cooper has seen what these other dogs are capable of, I understand why he's wary or why he is switched on to what is going on, because he has watched these dogs do protection work. He understands that these dogs are not the same as he sees in the park. When we go to the park and they're pet dogs and they're sort of running around, he's very sociable. He can go. I can take him up. I never let him off lead, just in case one of the dogs becomes aggressive with Coop. Coop is not going to back down from that, and I don't want that. I don't want that image of my dog or a GSD dog being aggressive. Now, it may not be him that starts it, but it probably will be him that finishes it. So I don't let my dog off lead in parks and different things like that. But if a dog does come up to us, and Cooper normally goes into a down position, he'll sniff, then he'll stand up, he'll have a bit of a sniff, and I'll say, right, that'll do, and we walk on. But when I'm at training, Coop seems to understand, or because he's watched these dogs do protection work, because he understands that these dogs are as confident as him and are as loud as him, he's always switched on to what dogs wear, what dogs doing what. And yes, sometimes he can be a little bit reactive with these dogs, but that doesn't come from an anxiety of it doesn't come from an anxiety of being dog aggressive. I think that comes from understanding that these dogs can be as dangerous, or they are trained in sort of protection work. I'm probably muddling this up a little bit, but when I do take him to training and we do obedience with other dogs around, he is more switched on than if I do go to the park. When I go to the park, he kind of switches off to other dogs. He doesn't really care too much. If he sees another German Shepherd, he does act a little bit differently, because he sort of associates German Shepherds with what he sees at work. He doesn't understand that the German Shepherds we see at training are different to the German Shepherds we see down the park. So he is a little bit more switched on to them types of dogs. Chip King, 2 of my dogs are not sociable. It kind of happens. I think you have to kind of accept that as part of this industry, is that your dog can be as sociable. You could do your best job to make the dog as sociable as possible. And then something happens whilst you're working, and then that dog turns around and says, "No, I used to like people, but after this situation that has happened, I've decided I don't like people anymore." And it could be a part of the working life of that dog, that the dog decides, you know what, I used to like people, and then this happened. Now I'm not sociable with people. I don't want people to be anywhere near me because of this situation that happened whilst I was working. It could be no fault of the handler. It could be no fault of the dog. It could just be the fault of the situation that happened that made the dog change his opinion on other people. So just because you see a security dog that is not sociable with people, it's not anything to do. It might not be anything to do with the handler. It might not be anything to do with the trainer. It might not be anything to do with the way in which the dog has been trained or brought up. It could simply be one night whilst they was working, some bloke attacked them with an iron bar, and the dog had to sort that person out. The dog might have got a couple of whacks off the geezer with the iron bar, but the dog won the fight. Therefore, the dog now thinks that hurt. Them strikes with the iron bar hurt. So you know what? I'm not going to let anyone get that close, just in case that happens again. So sometimes it's not to do with the way in which the handler has brought it up. It might not be anything to do with its training. It could simply just be, you know what? This happened on site. Someone attacked us with an iron bar. Now, my dog does not like people being anywhere near us, close to us, or whatever. And touch wood, that never happens, but that is always a risk with this job. I'm guessing a very sociable protection dog kind of defeats what you want unless your dog can switch between the two. I mean, it's a difficult one. My personal opinion, and whether I'm influenced on my trainer, is that you want your dog to be sociable because you have to take that dog home. You have to live with that dog. You have to have that dog around your family. You have to have that dog around your friends. You need to be able to invite possibly people into your house, etc. Cooper is very different. And I said this to someone on site the other day because they said, like, do you have that dog as a pet? And I say, yeah, when we go home, he is my pet. He said, would he bite me? And I said, it all depends on the situation. If he saw you as a threat, potentially, yes, he would. That's why it's my job to be able to stop that or be able to control Coop to calm him down to that threat. But when we go to work, Cooper is completely different to the Cooper that my missus sees, the Cooper that my friends see. He's very different. He does naturally switch on. He kind of understands when we go there that everyone is kind of the enemy. He does calm down when he knows that I've been speaking to people and nothing's happened. For argument's sake, so I went to site the other day and my van's parked up and someone walked around the back of my van. The doors were cracked. It wasn't open. The door was just cracked. Someone walked around the back of my van. Coop kicked off. And the bloke went, oh, he's a bit lively. And I said, yeah, I said, that's his job. He's there. He's here as a deterrent. And if he feels that you are a threat, then yes, he is a deterrent. Yes, he will bark at you. But once I started talking to the bloke and then I returned back to my van, that guy then walked past a little bit later, whether Cooper could smell a similar scent coming through. Cooper didn't bark at him the second time. He couldn't see him, but he didn't bark at him the second time. And Cooper, once he understands that there are meant to be people around, he seems to calm himself down because he is sociable. Now, once everyone goes home and I take him out for a patrol and it's only me and him there, he then understands that it's only meant to be me and him. Therefore, anyone else that walks around or anyone else that comes close to the van, they're not meant to be there. So, in my opinion, and maybe I'm influenced by my trainer, you do want your dog to be very sociable because the only way in which you can get the dog to switch off is for the dog to be sociable and understand that not everyone is trying to kill us. What you do need is a trigger word or a switch word where you can tell the dog, you know what, I don't like the look of that person. You need to change from being sociable to being not very sociable. And I think once you get into doing more training and maybe go into sessions and different things like that, you will understand that having a dog that is antisocial with people, antisocial with other dogs, you not being able to control his sociable side is actually a massive pain in the arse, and it makes the working life a lot harder. But having a dog that is sociable, for example, when I've been turning up to site, I get out, I settle myself up. There's a few people walking around. I can get my dog out, and I don't walk close to anyone, but I just get my dog out and I take him for a toilet, and we just walk right down the middle of site, and me and him go for a toilet. And there'll be people walking around, different things like that. My dog will look at them, he will watch them, but we will keep on walking. If I had a dog that every time I got him out, if we was walking down that strip, if he kept trying to lunge towards people or kept trying to go towards people, that's a little bit threatening to the members of the public, because they might not understand, or they might see that as a threat. Two, you having to do that makes it look like you're not in control of that dog. It makes it look as if you haven't got control of the dog. And three, it's just the constant you having to correct the dog in front of people, the constant you having to tell the dog, no, let's not do this. It's not the greatest look. If you've got a sociable dog where you can just get him out and you can just walk right down the middle of site, yes, the dog's going to look at people because that's his job. He will understand that I need to make sure that whoever's around us is not coming towards us. But if you've just got a dog that will just walk down the middle and just look at people and read situations, it's much better than having a dog that just wants to tear everyone's head off. In my opinion, probably influenced by my training. Jib King, if you remember last year when my dog had to defend me, I'm glad he wasn't sociable. Yeah, and that's why I think there are different dogs for different sites. So there are different dogs for different sites, and you might have non-sociable, harder dogs for non-sociable, harder sites, but then you may want an easier dog. Talking of these, I'm going to go and give him. Oi, leave it. Yeah, you might want a harder dog that's less sociable for certain sites, but then you may want a slightly softer dog. I'm not going to say a soft dog, but a slightly softer dog that's more sociable for other sites. So, for example, what's a good example? Festivals. Yes, you might want a hard dog for certain situations, but you need a reasonably sociable dog if you're working festivals and you're close around the public, because you can't, when you're working in festivals, you can't second guess what people do with alcohol when they're drunk. So you may want a dog that's a little bit more chilled out. Yes, still has the possibility of crowd control. Yes, still has the possibility of protection, but someone that is not a dog that is not wanting to rip everyone's head off. Because if you're standing, let's say you're standing here, then you've got a fence, and then you've got revelers. Is that the right word? Or you've got customers the other side. What you don't want is the dog constantly barking at people through a fence when they're just there enjoying the festival, not doing anything wrong. So you want certain dogs for certain jobs, and you want certain dogs for other jobs. I think that having a dog that can kind of do both would obviously be ideal. But I know that there are plenty of handlers where their main job is to get sent to the worst sites where there is possibility that there is going to be trouble, because they've got the experience in order to do it. But also their dogs are complete and utter a-holes, and if the crap hits the fan, their dogs will sort it out. So I think there are certain dogs for different jobs. Having a dog that can do both, but like I say, I think there is a difference to where you'd send certain handlers with dogs to where you'd send other handlers with other dogs. But yeah, it was Chip King. I've spoken to you a little bit about that situation, and yeah, it was ideal that the dog that you had out at that time was going to do what he did, and as we know, it was justified by the police, because you was under threat. Chicken strike. Is having a GP dog as a pet the norm in the industry? I'd prefer to keep my dog inside and obviously safe around family and friends, and only reacts on my command or a cue. I would say 75% of the handlers that I know keep their dogs indoors. I'd say the other 25 are probably kennelled out in the garden. But I think it's more common for handlers to have their dogs living with the family. But that comes with having a balanced dog, having a dog that is sociable, someone similar to Coop. But there are lots of handlers that go, you know what, I don't want to take the risk. My dog's too hard. My dog's too possibly aggressive, that I'm going to go and kennel them outside. So you obviously need to bring the dog up correctly. If the dog is brought up with children and your wife, etc., then it's less likely that even if the dog is a hard dog, it's less likely to possibly do that towards the kids, etc. But then you also need to remember that you need to teach the kids how to be with the dog. A lot of people will see security dogs and say, right, I need to teach my security dog how to live with kids and family. But what you also need to do is you need to teach the kids, don't pull on the dog's ears, don't pull on the dog's tail. Cooper is relatively pretty low key, pretty chilled out. But during training and different things like that, yes, sometimes his tail does get grabbed and he reacts on that. So I need to make sure that when kids are around with my dog, I need to make sure I tell them, whatever you do, do not pull on it. Do not pull on his tail. Don't pull his tail, because I know in training that is a trigger for him to need to defend himself. So you have to remember, you have to also teach the people that are living with the dog how to act around the dog and know the boundaries of that. My dog has been out playing with a 5 and a 7-year-old, just playing in the field, just the three of them. So he is capable of doing that. He's sociable of doing that, but you need to also speak to him and say, look, don't pull on the dog's ears, don't pull on the dog's legs, don't pull on the dog's tail. So that's something that you have to keep in mind as well. It's not, I need to teach this dog how to live with people. You also need to teach the people how to live with the dog. Northeast, that's why he said mint. Festivals, football matches. Yeah, I think to be honest, I think football matches is mainly done by police now. But yeah, obviously crowded places where you've got lots of people around. Or you sleep outside with a dog. Well, that might be a preferential of the other half. Chip King, I do a lot of festivals like Wireless in London. Me and Rocky, we managed to back off a crowd of 200 trying a gate crash. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to festivals, like I was saying, sometimes you just want to be a presence. You want the dog to be a presence. Well, you and the dog being a presence might just be standing one side of a fence, and the dog just sitting there, just watching people whilst they're doing law-abiding stuff. But then you're going to want crowd control, where you've got the dog at the end of the lead and he's kind of fanning between everyone, trying to stop people from getting over the fence or whatever it is. So yeah, sometimes you want the sociable side where the dog is quite happy just to sit there and just watch people going. But then you obviously need that side where he'll start fanning and doing sort of crowd control, etc. Really itchy nose. Put the wife in the kennels and keep the dog inside. But yeah, I'd say that it's probably a 75-25 split in terms of people that have their dogs that live live in the house and live outside in the kennels. I'd say most of the people that do kennel their dog is either from instructed by their mum, if they live at home with their mum and dad, normally instructed by maybe their mum, instructed by their wife, that she says, look, I'm happy with you doing this, but I don't want the dogs inside. Or it might just be a personal preference that when they go home, they put the dog in a kennel with a run and they can then chill out. Because as much as I love my dog, and I know I say this quite a lot, as much as I love my dog, when I come home, it's not really switching off because he's always laying around. Sometimes he comes up to me and he wants to play tug or he wants to play ball, etc. So some people, some handlers might say, all right, well, for the 12 hours that we're working, I will do that with him. But when I go home, he needs to chill out and relax and he needs to calm himself down. So I'd rather kennel him where he's safe, he's dry, and he can just chill out until we need to go to work. But then when we go to work, then we'll be very active and do sort of stuff. And whilst he's obviously in the kennel, I can sit down and watch TV and not have the dog come up and want to play tug, or not have the dog barking at everyone that walks past. Because you might have heard, I don't know whether the audio catches it up, I'm sitting down watching TV and someone walks quite close to my flat, Coop's there barking. Some people don't want that. They'd rather just put the dog out in the back, because as much as you say that you only want the dog to react on a command or a cue, well, that's fine. But what happens when you're on site and the dog notices something that you haven't? Do you want the dog to react then? Do you want the dog to kick off on his own when he notices something happening? Yes, you do. Well, you can't teach the dog to only do it by command or cue if when you're at work, you want the dog to do it without you knowing. So I think it is kind of counterintuitive that you say, right, my dog is only ever going to kick off on a command or a cue. But when he sees something that I don't want him to kick off on command or cue. I want him to do it on his own. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff. And like I say, there's lots of times where I've got the balcony door open and someone walks past and Cooper gives them an earful and I have to get up, get hold of him and say indoors. But if there's a member of the public and someone is walking, I've got the balcony door open and someone is walking past my balcony on a nice Sunday walk. Cooper goes out there, bark, 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 bark. Yes, not very nice. Get hold of him, pull him back in. Do I want to stop him from doing that? No. The reason I don't want to stop him from doing that, if that's now 10 p.m. and it's a nice hot summer's day and I've got the balcony door open, if two blokes in balaclavas are outside my balcony and want to jump the balcony and come into the flat, do I then want Coop to give them an earful? Yes, I do. So I don't want to stop him from doing that, because the day that there's two blokes in balaclavas standing the other side, I want Coop to give it full beans and I want them to think, oh, maybe I don't want to do it. So you have to remember that kind of side is telling the dog that you only want him to do it at certain times doesn't work. You either want him to do it or you don't want him to do it. The same way is with the postman. So most people know with dogs is that the postman walks up to the house, the dog barks, and then the postman goes away. The dog thinks, oh, I did that, I've won. Now, every time someone comes to the house, they turn around to the dog and go, no, stop doing that, stop doing that, stop doing that. But if that person tries to break into the house, you've told that dog, don't do it. But now you're saying, no, I want you to do it now. So you can't pick and choose. So in terms of delivery drivers, when they knock on the door, Coop gives it full beans behind the door. I don't mind that, because the one day that I'm not here and the missus is at home and there's a knock at the door and a bloke tries to force his way in, do I want Coop to give it full beans and get that bloke to back off? Yes, I do. So, like I say, it's very easy. It's very easy to say people to say, "Oh, my dog only kicks off on command." Well, they're the person that has someone sneak up behind them and give them a clout round the back of the head, because the dog has been told you can only do that when I tell you to. Where with Coop, if he sees something that I don't, I'm quite happy for him to give it full beans and bring my attention to it. I think that made sense. It might not have made sense, but it made sense in my head. Obviously, not all GSDs are suitable for protection work, but are there any easy visible signs to see? Yes and no. I think Cooper is a really good example of you being able to change that. So unfortunately, I really only started making videos and that once I passed. And if people had seen videos of Cooper when I first turned up, videos of Cooper in the first 2 or 3 months, he would hide behind me, he would back off, he would have no interest in, like my first session, the trainer was trying to agitate him, and my trainer literally put a cloth over Cooper's eyes and was ragging his head around a little bit, and Cooper had zero interest in doing anything. So after that, once he got a little bit of confidence, then the trainer would be a little bit more forward, but then Cooper would back off. Then you introduce him to it, then he would get better with that, and then you'd introduce something further. And then Cooper would be hiding behind me saying, Dad, you need to sort that out. I can't deal with this. So if you looked at Cooper in the first 2 or 3 months, the same way my trainer said to me, I turned up to my first training session and my trainer said, look, I don't think he's going to have what it takes. I'm willing to give you a chance to put some training in, to do some extra bits. But at the moment, I don't think he's got what it takes. And I agree. He would hide behind me. He had no interest in doing that side of work. Yes, he would go out and he would find the trespassers, like on sort of patrol training. He would go out and he would find them and he would give it a little bit of a bark. But the moment you come forward towards Coop, he would back off. So if you looked at that at the start, you would say, well, no, that dog's going to be no good. And it would have been very easy if I had gone to another trainer or whatever it was, that they would have said to me, that dog has absolutely no chance. That dog's not got what it takes in order to do this work. And me being very new, I would have just turned around and said, that's fine. If he's not got what it takes, then I'll go and do something else. But where my trainer said to me, look, I'll give you a couple of months. We'll see where he is in a couple of months' time. And then we'll go from there. And within the first few weeks, remember that I was probably going training once or twice a week, but I was also putting in a couple of hours a day at home, doing certain bits to try and bring him along. And over the first couple of weeks, he got a little bit braver. And then something would happen and he would come back and I'll say, right, well, we need to work on that. And then we'd go back a few weeks later and he'd be a little bit braver. And then within maybe a couple of months, my trainer said, right, he's got the groundwork. He's shown a bit more promise that he knows what to do and he has the capability of doing it. Let's give this a crack. So I said, okay, let's do that. And then within 6 months, not saying he was the ultimate top dog at training, but he was there. He wouldn't back down. He would bite a sleeve. He was vocal. He was forwards. He was loud, and he had the confidence in order to do it. So, looking at him on day one, or probably for the first month, you would have said that dog's got no chance of doing this work. See him 6 months down the line, you would say, you know what, this dog is confident. He is forward. He is loud. I don't want to mess with that dog. Now, it's very easy for some people to say, well, that dog's not very intimidating. There are certain people in this world that if someone has a knife, there are certain people in this world that will tackle that person with the knife. There are certain people in this world that no matter how aggressive or how hard the dog looks, there are people in this world that will say, I will still have a go at that. Because there are people that will say, there's a bloke with a machete, I'm still willing to tackle that bloke with a machete. So there are certain people that look at my dog and go, you know what, I fancy my chances. There are also a lot a lot of people that, without me getting the dog out the van, have said, you know what, F that, I'm not interested, walking off. Now, I'm not talking about trespassers, I'm just talking about general members of the public, builders, people in construction, that have looked at the dog in the van, have heard the dog in the van and said, you know what, not interested. But there are certain people in this world that will look at that and go, yeah, I still fancy my chances with that. Whether they win or not, who knows? Whether they end up with some holes, who knows? But I wouldn't say there are visible signs, because in the first month, there were visible signs that my dog was an absolute coward, had absolutely no chance of doing the work. 6 months down the line, you looked at him and it was a completely different dog. So it's not a case of there's visible signs that the dog's not going to be able to. There are definitely visible signs that your dog can do the work, but just because there are visible signs of the dog not being able to, it doesn't mean that if you put in the hours, few hours a day, training at least once a week, etc., there's no reason that in 6 months, etc., that you couldn't get the dog to a point where it's ready to do a NASDO, or it's ready to take the next step, etc. So I think that's important. There are obviously lots of signs that the dog is ready to do it, but just because Cooper is absolute proof that just because the dog has nothing in it to do it on the first session, it doesn't mean that within a couple of months you can find that little spark and the dog look like he can do the job. I tried. I tried outside kennel and run, and constantly barking didn't go well with the missus when I was at work, as it was when I was training. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be new for the dog. If the dog's not been kennelled before, it's going to be something new. The same way as in terms of crate training. Whenever you get a dog or you get a new puppy and you take them home and they haven't been crate trained, the first few nights of crate training is an absolute nightmare. But then the dog learns that is a safe place. They learn that they're not being left on their own. I know outside kennel they probably are, but they understand that is their home. And kennel training is the same as crate training, and kennel training outside is going to be loud. It possibly is going to be a lot of barking, whining, or whatever it is, the same way that crate training is when you have a puppy indoors. They cry and things like that, and then they start to calm themselves down once they realise that, yes, you are coming back. Yes, this is not a punishment. This is where you're going to live. But if you get a dog that's not been kennelled before, it's obviously going to be a little bit stressful at the start. And if you've now taught the dog that if he's kennelled, that if he barks and that, he's going to be allowed into the house, it's now obviously a little bit harder. So yeah, I understand with that, because if you're out and the dog is constantly barking and the missus is getting complaints from neighbours, or the dog barking is doing her head in, I can understand why you kind of back down from that. But there, like I said, there is no reason why you can't do this job and have the dog live inside with you as well. You just have to make sure that your dog is balanced enough and sociable enough in order to do that, and your family knows how to live with that dog. Mine is the complete opposite to how your dog sounds. Very confident and does all the barking, etc., when anyone comes to the back gate and house. I think the main difference that I found, because Cooper would bark at the door, he would bark at gates, he would bark. So around my mum and dad's, they had like a public footpath with barbed wire fencing, and he wouldn't bark at people that were walking up and down, but if they reached over to pet him, he would bark at them then. What I found is that your dog can bark at people through windows, he can bark at people through doors, but once you take that away from them and that person comes forwards, that's when someone that the dog doesn't know. So you've got someone that the dog doesn't know, and you take that barrier from in front of the dog. When that person comes forwards, what does that dog do then? Now, I'm not telling you to test that out, because If your dog does bite someone, I don't want you to say that I told you to do it. But what I did find, because Cooper would bark at the door, he would bark at the postman, he would do all that sort of stuff. But once you get to training and there is someone that is being aggressive towards the dog, if that dog hasn't seen it before, because all the dog has seen is someone walk up to the door and walk away from the door. The dog has never seen someone it doesn't know all of a sudden become very aggressive coming towards the dog. So it's good signs that, yes, he does bark, because that's what you want. The dog understands that if it's someone that he doesn't know, to bark, etc. But once you get to sort of training, etc., and all of a sudden someone with a big stick comes at the dog, yes, at the moment the dog might look confident, but the early stages of that side of it, the dog might crap itself and start hiding behind you going, that geezer's got a metal bar, he might hit me with that. Well, that's where you need to get the confidence of the dog on that side. So yeah, it's obviously good signs that the dog is confident and does all the barking, etc. But don't mistake that for thinking that the dog is going to protect you from someone that's got a metal pipe in his hand, or someone that is coming aggressively towards the dog. Because, like I say, the dog might not have ever seen someone it doesn't know come at it very aggressively. And that's when the dog goes, hold on, I haven't seen this before. What do I do? And if you haven't given the dog the tools to say, when someone does that, you go forwards and I'm allowing you to bite. Because probably what you've done a lot of the time at the moment as well, especially if you've got kids, etc., is if the dog starts nibbling on someone's arm, or if the dog is nipping someone, you've said to the dog, no, don't do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a difference between protection and there's a difference between nipping and different things like that. You want to stop that, and then you want to do the holding out and do the protection stuff differently. No good protection dog has ever been told, when it's a puppy, you can nip whoever you want, you can bite whoever you want. That's not how it works. In my opinion, there's going to be someone that probably says different, but in my opinion, no good protection dog from day dot has just been allowed to bite anyone that ever moves. So probably what you've done now is every time the dog has ever put its teeth on someone, you've said, no, not allowed to do that. Well, when someone comes at you with a metal pipe, if you turn around to the dog and say, right, you can bite him now, the dog's going to look at you and go, yeah, but you've told me I'm not allowed to do that. So you have to learn that sort of side of it. Heckles go up and all signs that she's wanting to bite, but obviously I tell her finish and she settles. Yeah. Like I said, every dog is going to be different. It's obviously very hard to be able to comment on it without actually being able to see it. But yeah, I think that was the eye-opening thing for me, and I think that's the eye-opening thing for a lot of people when they first get into it, is that they've got this German Shepherd and they think, well, yeah, this dog is going to protect me, etc. Then you get to your first training session, someone puts a sleeve on, comes at you with something in your hand, the dog goes, fuck that, and hides behind you, and you go, oh, well, this is going to take some work. So it is going to be a lot of work, but hopefully it works out for you. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to shoot, mate. I've got to take the dogs out for, ironically, hope catch up soon. Yeah. Thank you for dropping in. I hope you enjoyed this live. We are at 53 minutes and 45 seconds. If anyone's got any last questions, because I need to go and have some food, because I haven't actually eaten today. I finished work this morning, had a sleep, and then I've taken the dogs to my mum and dad's for a run today. So I haven't actually eaten, so I need to leave here and go and put a pizza on, because I am starving as well. So if anyone's got any last questions, if not, then we'll leave that live there. I think there's been some good subjects. Strike Thunder, thank you for obviously coming in and having lots of questions and starting off lots of conversation, etc. Because I think that you're at a stage where a lot of other people will be, and hopefully if people watch this after it goes out, then obviously it will help some other people as well. But yeah, so what are we? 54 minutes and 31 seconds, guys. going to leave it there. I need to go and have some food. I'm so hungry. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Thank you for everyone that has come in and obviously asked questions and been involved in the conversation, etc. I hope that's helped some people out. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe down below to get some more. And yeah, there'll be a video out tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. There'll be a video out Saturday. I don't know what that's going to look like. Like I say, I started doing one this morning, but I was tired and it sounded like it come out crap. I need to watch it back. But yeah, as for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. See you later.